Welcome, everyone. The City Council of the City of Gun Barrel City, Texas will meet in a joint meeting in City Hall Council Chambers located at 1716 West Main Street, Gun Barrel City, Texas, on Tuesday, January the 20th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. I will now call this meeting to order. Mr. Kirksmith, would you like to establish your roll call and your quorum?
Yes, the Ordinance Review Committee of the City of Gun Barrel City, Texas will meet in a regular meeting in City Hall Council Chambers located at 1716 West Main Street, Gun Barrel City, Texas on Tuesday, January the 20th, 2026 at 5:30 p.m. We'll call our meeting to order with roll call from my right with Marty.
Mullins here. Shelby here. Bond here. Slack here.
Rankin here.
And Kirksmith here.
Thank you, sir. I will now establish a quorum on our behalf. Roll call from my left, please.
Burns here.
Evans here.
Jacobs here.
Edwards here.
We have a quorum. Do we have citizens' comments? If none, we will move on. New business, 4A, a presentation and discussion of final draft by the Ordinance Review Committee. Our sponsor on this will be our city manager, Dr. Smith.
Mayor and council, in front of you on the floor of the chambers is the majority of the Ordinance Review Committee. We are missing one member. Debbie DeLeon isn't feeling well today. She emailed us over the weekend and let us know. She did email us again today to let us know that she would not be here because she was not feeling well. I am going to punt this conversation to Carrie Kirksmith, who is the chair of this committee. The goal of this tonight is really to hand you over the nearly 300 pages of documentation from the year of work this committee has done. Just as kind of a guideline, I think Carrie goes into it a little more. This committee started meeting last January, met twice a month, most months, and really spent a lot of time and effort going into these ordinances, giving us direction, giving us head nods, yes, consensus, let's look at this, to then have a document that they could turn over to City Council. It's important to note what you have in front of you that's highlighted in yellow. The Ordinance Review Committee received the same, is a synopsis of all of those ordinances, because what is maybe a couple of lines to a few pages in that document is a multiple page ordinance that then our attorney also reviews and comes back. So this is the first stab at it, has not been reviewed by the attorney yet, but I am going to punt it to Carrie, who's going to kind of lead the conversation today. And then the committee is here if you have questions. We have asked them to go to the microphone so that they can be heard if you have any specific questions. But the committee does realize the amount of work that was placed in front of you a couple of weeks ago, and know that there's absolutely no way you could go page by page and have in detail questions for them. So this is more the act of handing over that document, and now you guys get to start your process as well. So, Mr. Kirksmith.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to, first of all, thank the Ordinance Review Committee. This is just all-star. You guys have all just done amazing work and just really done a great service to the city, for the city, and we appreciate you. I want to thank the council also for meeting with us tonight. Like Angie said, tonight in this meeting, we will outline the processes that we went through to get us to tonight's meeting, as well as officially handing it over to you for your review. And I'd like to start out by introducing the review committee. I'm Carrie Kirksmith, the chair, Marty Mullins, our vice chair, and James Slack, our secretary, Keith Bond, and Linda Rankin. Debbie DeLeon's not here, and Gilbert Shelby. These are just really wonderful people to work with, and I'm very grateful to you all. Thank you very much. The Ordinance Review Committee met twice a month, as Angie was, she kind of already ran most of this down for you. As you review and approve these amendments, you will approve the amendment of the entire ordinance instead of just a few sentences to a few pages that are, published online, because what's online is just an abbreviated version. But this kept us out of the legalese and kept us on to the meat of the subject, which was basically the committee also made some updated fee recommendations, but we looked at all the other cities' fees and the cost to the city and discussed how to cover our cost and still be fair to the residents and builders It will be important moving forward for the fees schedule to be amended on an annual basis, because just looked like things are changing pretty quickly these days, and so staying flexible is going to be important. For now, it looks like though we're increasing a lot of these fees, but in reality, many haven't been adjusted in years, and at a minimum, these fees should cover the cost of doing business. Tonight, we will hand over our official recommendations and questions to the City Council for next steps, and our committee is also here tonight to answer any questions the Council may have about what they've received in October, or questions about the process overall. We realize that there's significant work now for the City Council and the City Attorney to take all these updates and approve them and get them finalized. Our committee would ask to remain in place at least until March while the Council reviews and approves the amendments to these ordinances in case Council has questions. We will not continue to meet, but we'd be available if Council would like to schedule another joint meeting once they've had a chance to review our recommendations. Once the Council has reviewed these recommendations, they will go to the City Attorney and the formal amendments, to make formal amendments to the ordinances, and then be submitted to the Council for approval. I believe the plan is to bring a few forward at each meeting to be updated. Well, I understand the Council has just received the full document as of this last week. The committee is now here to answer any questions that Council may have about the process, the next steps, or our recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Kirksmith. Questions?
I'd just like to say I appreciate all the work that y'all did. I know it was a very long time that y'all took out of your time to do that for the city, and I appreciate all the work that y'all did.
I would like to echo that sentiment. This was something when April and I were elected to City Council, going through all of these ordinances was very important to us, and I know that it was a very timely endeavor. So I thank you, every single one of you. Thank you so much for all of the time that you spent going through all of this over the last year.
I will, yes, go ahead, Ms. Rankin.
Yeah, you'll have to go to the podium so that it can be on the recording.
I just wanted to say, though, as we read these hundreds and hundreds of pages and went through this line item by line item, I did not realize how outdated and antiquated our ordinances really were. And so by your approval of what we've done, I think we will be ready for the next century. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rankin. So I wanted to echo the sentiments of council. I've sat in on a couple of the meetings, and I know it's tedious work, and it's a lot of information. What I would like to ask, and anyone can answer this, is in a lot of the areas that we needed work, where did you all feel that we had the largest gaps and the biggest needs for improvement, where you felt we made the biggest changes as far as ordinances?
Right off the top of my head, I think it was the emergency and protection by police and fire.
Okay.
You will see in the packet, they did make, we did redo all of the Parks and Recreation ordinances, realigned the board in line with, instead of it having its own, now it's part of Parks and Rec, which is how it is for every other one. Emergency management. The biggest changes were in the fire department. We still called them a volunteer fire department. There was also significant work done in police with the help of the chief, because as you know, we're working on accreditation, and so those two things aligned perfectly because we were going to have to rework some of those to make sure they were up to the standard anyway. And so there was some pretty massive ones in that. Anybody else can think of, please just go to the podium so everybody can hear. Anything else you can think of that there were massive? The biggest were fire. We still called them a volunteer fire department, and the ordinances were still written as such, as we had one. Police, Parks and Rec. But there were a lot, and we had to really, I think, we learned some things. So as you all know, Janet and I served as liaisons to this board, and we learned some things as we went. And so we learned that we were looking at concepts, not wordsmithing, right? Because you can't just wordsmith one little section because of how all of the legalese that's used in our ordinances. And so we got smarter as we went, that typos are relatively easy to fix. That's more of a Muni Code or American Legal or whoever, that's their problem. But making sure that what's in our ordinance is very clear. So those are some of the biggest changes. We didn't spend a lot of time on things we had already rewritten: junk vehicle, animal control, short-term rental. But these guys were able to give us some commentary, right? And then we had a lot of conversations about mobile homes, HUD manufactured homes, trailer homes, that wording, and making sure that we were in line with law. Marty's up.
Yeah, we did have a lot of, going through these ordinances, you could see that they were Band-Aided over the years, and they would change one thing in one spot, but not see how it affected others. So I think we've corrected all of that. We've got everything that in line with each other. We did look at some of the law changes in the state, because that had but there was a lot of Band-Aiding throughout the thing, and you would just go, this says this, but I thought we just read it was something else in another section. So hopefully everything's aligned, and like Linda said, we should be good for a while. And the thing is we do need to stay up with costs. Our costs going to go up. Then everything, we understand we want to do things for our citizens and stuff, but we don't have ad valorem tax, so we don't have anything to pay for it. So if you got to send somebody out to do something, it should pay for it.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. There was going to be a follow-up question of mine. I noticed on the fee schedule, and it's very nominal at best. Is everyone comfortable, though, that that's okay for us? We're covering our expenses and the amount of labor and whatever work goes into the permits or whatever it may be, whatever the fee is, are we covering our expenses because of that very reason that Mr.
Right.
Mullins
And that's
just
one of the,
stated.
that was one of the biggies that we were challenged with, was the fee schedules, because we don't think that they're just out of date. And,
Right.
Cost of doing business is different now. So we want, I think it is our recommendation that we remain flexible on those fee schedules, revisit them, in other words, pretty much annually or so.
What the committee recommended is to pick the highest. So one thing that my team went through and did as a part of this is we looked at, if you get a permit for X, how long does it take you, and who touches it, and how long does it take that person, right? So we looked at, for this group, we provided them with, if I walk in the door to get a fence permit, how long does it take my permit technician with them, time-wise? We looked at time, right? Now, there are other costs associated with it. There's the other costs, the hard costs related to operating the building and paying the staff and using the software and those things. We looked at hard costs and the amount of time it takes to do something. And we could have updated every fee on that schedule. What they challenged me with is looking where the biggest discrepancies were and then recommending that as a first round. Council may take a look at it. You can, we looked at background information. We pulled, Lauren at the front desk helped us pull surrounding cities. Sorry, my voice is going. Helped us pull surrounding cities, so we have those. But then it got down to, we want to make sure we're covering our costs. So who cares if Kaufman charges $100 if it costs us $125 to do it? So we looked at all that. So those fees you see are kind of just a starting place, right? You can't go through and update every fee in 1 year. So we started with just a few. We also found that there's some fees we can't charge anymore, right? We don't charge health permit fees. Janet and I, the committee isn't even aware of this, Janet and I were made aware last week. We can no longer charge TABC fees. That was one of the changes the state made. So It's not in this version, but in a more updated version, because I have a running copy on my desk of things that come up, we can no longer charge TABC fees. And so food truck permit fees are changing. We won't be able to control those in the same way that we have been able to. So when you get to the food truck ordinance, it just says, work with attorney because we don't have the same control anymore. Now it punts to the state. Very few rules about how they can choose where they want to be. And so there are some notes in there that are like, hey, we need to work with the attorney on this one. So, but they spent a lot of time with the ordinance, really looking at it. Shannon came to a couple of meetings and really helped us talk through what that process looks like, what his recommendations are, having done that and be in that business for a while. But I do have worksheet after worksheet that maps out how much in staff time does it cost us. And then there's other costs associated with it, with, you know, the software and the building and the lights and the staff, you know, we did staff time, but copy machines and printers and paper and, you know, all those other hard costs that are associated with issuing a permit.
So a question on the recommendation fees. If it doesn't have one, it just means you're not changing.
It just means we're not recommending changing it at this time.
Stays at whatever's on the
Yep.
left. Okay. I think most of mine are in land usage,
Yeah.
which I think we were told in the beginning y'all would do a little bit of land usage eventually.
We did fence permits, we did a few, but we didn't do a lot because we did receive that grant to do zoning and to do drainage. And so that is part of our general land office grant to work on our comp plan. But we did do fences. You're gonna see on the very back, there's some that my staff kind of has compiled a list as we went of, hey, these are issues. And so fencing, that's one of them, right? We know that's a problem because of how it's worded. That was one that we looked at. Golf carts, another one we looked at. Swimming pool fences. Through this process, we realized that we had a missing child that ended up in a swimming pool, right? Because we don't require fences and the state law is a little, you have to pull your ladder out. And so that's one that this group talked about that you'll see at the end is, hey, we would like something that we would like for council to consider adding is, you know, what fencing looks like around pools. So we pulled out a few of those, but a lot of drainage and zoning will be done. We just kicked that process off with GrantWorks on the updating the drainage and the comprehensive plan.
So I guess we'll get there, or we'll get in there. But I think this is a great start, and I did a lot of work, very much.
And there's a lot that the attorney will have to review.
I'm sure she'll send it all to him.
I will. Once you guys kind of have a chance, we'll now break it down in digestible pieces, right? And we'll have a workshop. Once I kind of have direction from you, I know enough with the attorney that I can get it close, and then it will have to go to the attorney to rewrite the ordinance. The ordinance will then come to you as an amendment to approve, and fees will come with that as we go. So what you see on a fee schedule, currently our ordinances have an appendix, and all the fees are kind of broken out in that appendix. What the committee asked for was an Excel spreadsheet where they could actually look at the different kinds of fees. And so what's in the far left-hand column is what ordinance or fee it ties to, and then the name of the fee, and they're separated out by almost function. So you'll see some planning, you'll see some parks and rec, and then under that, they're in alphabetical order. They're like that because it's the easiest way to find it, to be honest with you, because there are hundreds of them. So we will have to update the fee ordinance, but then also what a lot of cities have is this master fee schedule that's part of the budget every year. And so if there's something that we catch that's off or that's missing, or then we can just add those fees as a part of the master fee schedule review. It's so much easier for a developer to find, hey, this is what I need to do, and this is what it's going to cost us. You know, we've realized that we have a lot of developments that are over 4 acres. That was something that kind of came through this process. And, you know, the great news is we got to conduct business a year while we were doing this too, so we found some holes and we were able to plug in some of that as well.
I think too, that it's most important, just for me personally, is especially when we just reviewed our strategic plan with the EDC, and this is just right on time with that, is, you know, one of the first things I heard, I know when I first got involved in any of the city politics, is how hard it is to do business here in Gun Barrel. And I gotta be honest with you, I got tired of hearing that, really. And so I think this brings now, everything, it does. It brings it into a very clear understanding of what's expected by everybody. And at the same time, I know we want to be welcoming to developers and people of that nature, but you can't just turn them loose either, right? I mean, we can't be that, because we don't, as Mr. Mullins said, we don't have an ad valorem. The other guys they can entice them with other things, right? But we have to, I heard this, said by Mr. Houck the other day, it's almost like every blade of grass here in Gun Barrel has to have a cash register to it, and it almost has to be that way. We have to be able to maximize, but this makes it very, very clear, and they're so updated now. I think it makes it much easier for us, too, moving forward as a city with all the hard work that you guys have done. It's very clear to everybody now. This is the ordinance. This is how it reads. This is what it is. It's updated. It's in line with the state. And if you can add to anything I'm saying, Mr. Mullins, please jump in.
Well, I just want to address that it's hard to deal with the city of Gun Barrel. That's not true for anybody that actually knows construction, actually knows what's going on. It makes a big difference. Everybody around here's got a book, but nobody knows what's in it. And what we've gone through is we had a building department that, nothing against John, but we had a building department that really didn't do a whole lot. And then all of a sudden we get a new guy, and he actually knows what's in the book. And so he actually starts doing it. That right there makes it difficult to deal with Gun Barrel. I can guarantee you that there's other cities around here that have more stringent codes than we do. The problem is they don't enforce them. So, yeah, there's a difference in it, but it's nothing that we're being difficult. We're just following the rules. And if you've ever done any work in any of these cities around here that I have, I can tell you that it's a big difference.
Well, I can echo that, because I had some people that were very dear friends of mine call me about their alarm was going off, and they'd never been received a citation when their alarm went off, and one of our, officers or one of our first responders had to go out there and call on that, and they were like, well, we never received anything, but here we are. We're now following the rules, and it's been tough sometimes on staff because we are following the rules, but what I echo is that you guys have done such a great job, and obviously with the bad weather, it's going to be good reading for me this weekend. It just makes it easier for us too, that if somebody does come up with something like that and they do want to nitpick, it's very, very clear, and it's very, very apparent, what the ordinance is, how it's supposed to be interpreted, and I think it makes it better for everyone.
I think people just have a vision of things being different out here than it is anywhere else. Got into a conversation with a gentleman over fire. I'm really big on life safety, and fire is one of the big things. And when I proposed to him what the code actually said was this, and he says, well, we're not Dallas. And my question to him was Dallas fire different than Gun Barrel fire? Does Dallas kill you better than Gun Barrel?
Right.
All we're doing is we're following the rules to keep our citizens safe. And whether all the rest of the people around here want to do that, I don't care. All I want to do is make sure that anything that we're touching, that we've got the citizens' best interest in mind. And I think we do. I would really like talking to people when they say we're difficult. I want to know why they're difficult. You know, we've got a deal where they said, well, you know, we hadn't been able to get our building permit. And it's been, 90 days. Well, why not? Have you submitted plans? Well, no. Well, then how are you going to get a build permit?
Right.
So people just hear just part of it. And if you don't get your way, then you're difficult. So I love talking to people about being difficult.
I appreciate that. Further questions? Anyone? Ms. Evans?
So just making sure that I understand, from this point going forward, we're not going to submit this entire document to the attorney. We are going to go through and pick and choose and do
So
a
I
couple
think
agreements.
staff's goal is to start at the top and work our way through. That's what Janet and I will do at your guidance next. What would help us the most is if council would start working through that document as you have it. Send me questions, send me comments. If we need to schedule another meeting of the Ordinance Review Committee, we can. I mean, we have minutes from every meeting, so we've kind of talked through some of those things. I have asked Blake some questions as we went. You will see there's one about the definition of an officer of the city, and it says rewritten by attorney because I
Saw that
needed
about reserve
him.
officers and things like that.
I needed him, it didn't make any sense because
Yeah.
suddenly an employee was an officer and they're not necessarily because they're governed by different things. So there are some places Blake and I have already had conversations. What will help staff the most, Janet and I the most, is for you guys to now start going through them page by page. If you get to one, say, hey, what about this? What about this? Or save them up, 2 weeks at a time and send them to us. And then what we will do is start bringing them to you, one ordinance at a time in the next couple of weeks. Maybe have a work session and do 2 or 3 and look at, yes, you like this, no, you don't, this is your recommendation. Ultimately, council makes the final decision, and then that ordinance would go to Blake for approval, if you will. But we have, in most cases, taken state law into account. We had several members on the committee that we did a lot of research. We would go pull state law. We would look at state law. There are some that our city attorney will have to rewrite. Our food truck ordinance is one. But you'll see that we've separated out special events and peddlers, vendors, itinerant market people, and then special events, and how those, and then food trucks, and how those 3 things that used to be crammed into one ordinance are now several ordinances. So, my request to council, I think mine and Janet's request to council would be, while you're locked in this weekend, start reading through it. Send us questions. We're going to stay on top of it. We're going to keep pushing you because now we want to get these things. There's some that don't have any changes, right? There's not major changes to them. Some of them are just commas. Well, that may be right in the ordinance and it's just not right online. But we will start pulling ordinances specifically, making those amendments as we get those comments from you to keep these on tracks to get them approved as we move forward. So our goal is to update all of them, but we're going to break it out in a little smaller sections. Some of them are just simple. Again, you'll see we made a ton of changes to the fire department. 90% of that is removing the word volunteer fire department. So that's a really simple change that we can, some of them are easier than others. Some of them, parks ordinance, goodness gracious, we rewrote the whole thing, right? Really brought it up to date, changed the language a little bit. So some of them may take a little longer than others.
So is there a starting point you would recommend for us today?
Start at the front. My recommendation, that's what we're going to do, is start with, what is it, 10? I can't see that far, 10. Start with 10 and just read through, make notes. You can open a Outlook email and just type to me in a bulleted list, hey, what about this, what about this? And then we're gonna start taking through them.
One of the things that we ran into that from the very beginning of this process was the legalese. I personally have a little bit of a problem with it not being written in plain English, but that I had to kind of just bite the bullet and go with it. But we did a lot of rearranging of things that didn't make sense to be in, 2 places at the same time. So things have been moved by way of, what chapter they're falling in. But I guess one of the main things that that we would like to ask is that, that you do overlook the typos and the, the punctuation stuff and all that, because that's just not a major. That's you'll burn your brains out on that for sure. Just get to the substance of where just do things look like they're organized like they should be. And do they make sense? I would like to clean up the wording. I hate these, half page long sentences, but that's just me.
And that is, we did not spend a lot of time renumbering. We didn't spend a lot of time punctuating. So what you have is very much a working document. As we bring those to you in true ordinance form, we will make sure that is addressed. And then as they're getting published online, we will make sure that that is addressed as well. So Janet has a process in place now to ensure that she's getting to see everything that gets published on Unicode, and so then we can make sure that we do that. But so that was what will help staff the most, is start at the beginning, and we will start in February bringing you an ordinance or two, either for the first 30 minutes of a meeting to work through or whatever, until we tick through them. So, and we will work on fees as we go and then try to find the best way, because if you look at that spreadsheet, you have to admit that's much, much easier to read than our appendix, right? But there are words in our appendix that we need to put somewhere. So it's a kind of a catch-22 of trying to figure out the marriage of the two. A lot of people have that. A lot of cities have that appendix, but then they have that master fee schedule that's so easy to search in Google real quick, and you get it, it pops up for you.
I don't know that it was mentioned, but I want to thank Janet and Dr. Smith for corralling us, keeping us on point, keeping the meetings going, and organizing everything. We came in every week. We were given before every meeting. We had the documents, we had the information, we had red lines. That's a paramount task. So I just want to thank Janet and Dr. Smith for their hard work in keeping this going.
And in line with that, Janet and I would be remiss if we didn't thank every single staff member we have, because PD took theirs. Like, that's where we started, right? I would send it to the staff member and say, here's the instructions, redline this, because this is what we're then going to take to the committee. There were nights they were all here during this process to say, this is why we did this or why we did that. Then we would take it to the committee, and the committee would make changes. And then Janet and I just kind of made sure we kept the document updated. We realized about halfway through we should have had a document from the beginning. We were doing them one at a time, and so we fixed that real quick. But it really has taken a lot of hours. But the great news is you have a team that's very familiar with their ordinances. When we catch a state law that changes, like we caught SB 1008 about TABC, it was instantly like, that's an ordinance, we have to fix it. And so we will fix that as part of this process. So now it will be at the forefront of everybody's mind anytime there is a legislative session to make sure that we're keeping these ordinances in line with law. And a lot of times you're going to see it says, per state law. Some things were also, I don't want you to get tripped by this, some things were in the charter and in the ordinances, and it said the exact same words. And so it only has to be in one or the other. It's in the charter. You'll see newspaper, right? So requires a newspaper in the charter. The exact same words were an ordinance. You don't really need that second ordinance unless it's going to be different than what the, like more strict than what the charter is. So you'll see we X some out, and it just says this is in the charter using those exact words, so.
Can I ask the chief, what were some of the things that you recommended change to align with the state as far as the accreditation?
That was like March.
Been a while. That's okay. That's okay.
And some of it was also titles, like Back when the ordinances were written, it was called an auxiliary police force. Now it's called a reserve police force. So a lot of it was titles and just making sure that we had everything that is now best practice. It's been almost 9 months since we did police. It's been a while, so.
Any further questions? Do you guys have any more direction or any suggestions that you might have for us, since this has been your baby for a while? And anything that you can recommend how, when we're going through this, maybe a process that helped you a little bit?
I would suggest read it early in the morning so you can sleep.
I don't drink coffee.
I love it.
Caffeine.
I think that's sound advice. Okay, thank you. I will say, in line with what Marty said, I said, as we're moving forward, I think maybe we've been our own worst enemy in the past. Is the only reason that you may be tough to deal with is because maybe you haven't followed the rules in the past, and now that we are. So I think if we're consistent moving forward, I think it makes it easier on everybody, and then everybody knows where we stand and respects the process. And again, I can't thank you enough for this was. I'm probably going to use a terrible word, but it was a thankless job having to go through every one of this. This is a lot of information, and the fact that you all did that on such a regular basis and took so much of your time, I can't tell you what a service that is. And I know it's already been echoed, but thank you again. And if no further questions,
Mr. Kirksmith, can you adjourn your meeting, and then council will adjourn?
So at this time, we'd like to adjourn the Ordinance Review Committee of the City of Gun Barrel City, Texas. Is that it? We good?
I will echo that. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you again.
Oh, there it is. She always comes by. I know.